welcome back to number one Florida's hockey podcast, Cats and Bolts. 3, 2, 1.
Am I on? Take 4.
There we go. I think we're good.
All right, attaboy, Betty. Welcome to Florida's favorite hockey podcast, the Cats and Bolts program, broadcasting from Podcast Junkie Studios in downtown Boca Raton, Florida. Are we good, Ben? You're smiling. You're happy.
Yeah, we're good.
Hey, listen, I know you don't want to disappoint your adoring crowd and audience. It's the number one podcast intro, we're told. I'm Rod Peterson. She's Sarina Taylor. And what we talk about here is the NHL with a Florida twist, Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning. And we're brought to you in part by Beach House Pompano and Bresco Restaurant, which is right across the street. When we have live guests, it's brought to you by Beach House Pompano and Bresco. But Sarina, and they get gift cards from there. Have you noticed all hockey guys do in Florida is pretty much golf?
Most of the time, yeah. When we have guys like Dale Talon who golfs anyway, regardless of whether or not he's a hockey guy. I think he was a golf guy before he was a hockey guy.
In fact, yes.
But yeah, that's why they live here.
Good point.
They get to golf year round.
Well, listen, folks. I was hoping, and at some point, Doug McLean, the former coach of the Panthers, is going to get his rebuttal at Jeff Rimmer for he just abusing him on this program a few weeks ago. But, you know, Doug, he's like, I'd love to come, Rod, but I'm golfing. I got a game of golf booked. Like every day. And Dale Talon's the same, and Jeff Rimmer's the same. I guess this is the place where you would want to golf.
Why
right?
not? And the weather's been really warm. Windy, but warm.
Yeah, not rainy per se. But this is what I've learned now in year 4 of living here. It is the fishing capital. It's the addiction capital. It's the recovery capital. It's the fitness capital. It's the ballroom dancing capital. Golf capital.
It is the fucking old-ass people capital is what it is.
I'm not shocked they voted down legalizing marijuana in Florida. I had to get a real joke laugh at it on Tuesday. No shit, they voted it down. I didn't vote in it. But anyways, next week, I can tell you this, as I go back to Canada, hers and my native land, Jeff Chikrin will be in this chair. And to be honest, I'm jealous because I know you're looking forward to that. He is such a great guy, Jeff Chikrin.
The last time he was here, he brought his dad. That's dad's
right.
Like 80-some, and he was here visiting from Ontario, from Ottawa. And we were talking about the Phil Esposito, me meeting Phil Esposito's situation, and we were talking that whole story. And Chikrin was like a kid at Christmas. He was just watching, like listening, like, wow, this is so great. So I can't wait. We haven't seen him since...
Well, he's been in Ottawa all summer. 5 years on Bally Sports Florida broadcast, Jeff Chikrin. If you're watching this, you know who Jeff Chikrin is. And he's not with Bally Sports this year. They switched over to Script Sports. And he's like, hey, if I'm not going to be on television, I'm going to stay up in Ottawa where the weather's a little cooler. But he's back. He's on his way back. Jeff Chikrin will be here next week. I will not be. But enough Mickey Mouse. Are you ready to talk about serious things?
Rock and roll.
All right. Number 1, the Florida Panthers are coming back from Finland. Actually, they already have. On a 5-game winning streak. They swept the Dallas Stars over there in Tampere, Finland, with scores of 6-4 and 4-2. Alexander Barkov was the star of the show, the captain of the team. And listen, this is what I want to get to her about. The R word is starting being used with the Florida Panthers, and that is repeat. Fans are saying it. Media is saying it. I don't think they are necessarily. I think the owner, Vincent Viola, is. But what do you think the chances are of the Panthers going all the way?
It's so hard to say. Like, we go over this all the time. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? Dude, I don't know. I don't know what anybody's going to do. We talked about what's going on with Boston. Don't worry about Boston. They're going to be fine. Everybody's freaking out. I don't really feel like you can judge what's going to happen right now. Look at the Oilers last year at this time. Look at any of those teams like Boston is this year. It's not an indication of what's going to happen. But that's how it is here always. It's never shocking. Last year they were talking about winning. So the year before, once they start winning, they talk about winning the Stanley Cup. Newsflash. You have the same team now that you did 2 weeks ago. Relax. Anything can happen. And that goes for any team, anywhere. Chill out.
But they won't, and you're right. I mean, I do the sports talk thing for a living. She does not. This is the stuff that, listen, down here, everybody knows it, and that's why they're watching this show for the hockey talk, because on the NFL, it's who do you think will be in the Super Bowl? Who do you think is going to be the MVP? I get tired of that, because that doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean any more than this. But it's fun just talking.
Well, I think a lot of things, if you think about the NFL, they don't play every single day. The NHL plays every day, so there's always something to talk about. The NFL, they got to find stuff to talk about if there's not a game going on.
Agreed. But the one thing is the Panthers, you would agree, I'm sure, are good enough. Because when they play their best, they're steamrolling teams. They've won 5 in a row. So basically, when they are Mickey Mouse, and like, you were at the Minnesota Wild game? Yeah, that was the night of when the lady died on Sawgrass Expressway. They were terrible.
Yeah.
Right? So if they don't play well, they're not going to have a sniff. But that's not them. That wasn't them that night. They are this team that's won 5 in a row, I think, as they get ready to open a 5-game homestand this week. They got Nashville in here Thursday and Philly on Saturday.
I just don't really think, to be fair to Dallas is, in my opinion, an underrated hockey team. They always have a good team. And when we were watching some of those games, I really don't feel like Dallas played up to their potential. Florida was great, but I don't think Dallas really played all that well.
Nothing for the Panthers to apologize for. They beat them soundly, and the Stars are always good. They're always good. They lost to your Oilers in the Western Conference Final last year, and what a series. That put a scare into you. A big scare into you.
If Edmonton didn't scare the shit out of me, it wouldn't be a calendar year. Mm-hmm. Vancouver, it scared me. Dallas, I was like, oh, great, here we go. Dallas was a fantastic hockey team last year. To be real, there probably was 5 teams that easily could have won the Stanley Cup last year, and you'd been like, yeah, they deserve to win.
I'll guarantee you they think they are better this year, Dallas. That's the whole idea. And the Panthers had their way with them the other night. And by the way, Bob and Spencer Knight split the games. It could not have gone better. Now, moving on to point 2. And Ben, if you can write it down, here is the episode. The R word. Because the Tampa Bay Lightning have come home after a 4-game roadie where they went 1-3. And I just had your boy Brian Munns on my show today, the daily Rod Peterson show on Game Plus TV and WQEE Radio. And he was at the game where the Winnipeg Jets spanked the Lightning 7-4 in Canada Life Center on Sunday. He's like, I don't know what Tampa's doing, if it's a rebuild or what they're doing. See what I'm saying with the R word? Repeat for the Panthers, rebuild for the Lightning. And we didn't really delve into it, but this is what they're saying. Munzie is a dyed-in-the-wool hockey guy. And he's like, are the Lightning rebuilding? What do you think?
I don't know if they're full-fledged in a rebuild, considering they still have a lot of guys that have been on that team for the last 4 or 5 years. I wouldn't say they're in the process of rebuilding, but I think the reality is they know they're headed that way. Tampa's not going to be that team that lets the whole thing fall to shit and then do something about it. They're already thinking 3 steps ahead about what they can do. So if you ask them if they're rebuilding, they're going to say no. Every team says that. But potentially, yes. But it's not like they let it all go. Here's the thing, though. Munzie's a Winnipeg guy. He probably never watched a Lightning game the entire year because people up there just don't watch the Florida
team. Not paying attention.
They don't. And so some of the games we saw Tampa play, they were really good. So just because Winnipeg steamrolled that, we all know Winnipeg's going to tank. We all know that. It's coming. But just because they maybe didn't have a good game, it's now all of a sudden everyone's talking about them rebuilding. Just like all of a sudden they're talking about the Panthers repeating because they won 5. Guys, there's been like 13 games.
I know.
Like, let's chill out here.
I would think you'd be used to this by now. But how about this for a different play on the word? They're not rebuilding. And give me an example of a team, which, by the way, I think you're 100% right on this, about some teams will let their franchise go right off the tracks before they start the cleanup. And who would be an example of a team that did that?
I would say, and this is not anything terrible, but I would say we saw Los Angeles do it. They had Dustin Brown as their captain. They won a couple Stanley Cups, and then they just didn't really make a whole lot of moves. They've just been kind of, and I'm not saying like this year, whatever, but let's be honest, really, what are they doing? Anaheim's banking on a lot of their rookies that they've drafted. They got good guys in their system like the Mason McTavishes, but I think Anaheim thought they were going to get a lot more out of a guy like Trevor Zegras, and they're doing nothing. On the flip side, if you compare that to Tampa didn't go that far down the hole. San Jose's been rough for a while as well. So those are the teams I think that were a lot more drastic in that regard.
I wouldn't have said LA, but I mean, there's no real right answer. I would have said San Jose for sure. They're in the running again for the number 1 pick. They're awful. Chicago, I love what they did with Jonathan Taves and Patrick Kane. They went into Stan Bowman, the GM, and said, you're going into a rebuild? We don't like that. And he's like, there's the door. And by the way, they're both gone. He committed to the rebuild, and we all know how that all went there. So what she's saying is Tampa's not going to blow everything up. But how about the term reloading? They're not rebuilding, but Tampa's reloading, and they're hoping to do it on the fly without missing the playoffs.
Well, you're not always going to be the best team in the National Hockey League, right? You can't always be the best. You can't always be in the top 3. It's just cyclical the way it goes. So teams that are there's teams that are on the rise, there's teams that are on the way down, and there's teams that are kind of sitting steady, which I think Tampa is. Now, having said that, do I think they're close to being on the rise again? No. I think they're going to fly at level like Pittsburgh's been doing. Pittsburgh's riding out guys like Crosby and Malkin and just Letang, kind of waiting for them to be done, and then they're going to start doing something. But you don't dump off a guy like Sidney Crosby. This is the heart and soul of your franchise, right? So
Tampa did.
Realistically, Crosby was in a different situation, right? Like it was a different, and I'm not defending Tampa, but what I'm saying is Pittsburgh chose to do that knowing they were probably going to miss the playoffs, whereas I feel like Tampa was like, no, we still want to kick at the can during the playoffs to get in there. That's what I think a little bit of a difference
No, you're
is.
right on everything. It's just here's the episode that we brought up Stamkos again, which, by the way, he's coming here Thursday with the Nashville Predators, which is going to make an appearance in our 10 topics here. But it's Sidney's, from what we can see and hear, it's Sid, what do you want? Well, don't trade me, re-sign me, and let's load up and let's go to the... They never said, Stammer, what do you want? That's the difference. And he's got 2 cups, Sid's got 3. I think there is a comparison there, but I'm moving on. I don't want to go down that road, and I don't think you do either.
Oh,
no, we're done with that road.
Sick of it.
The road is closed. Point 3, for fun. For shits and giggles. The Bleacher Report, I don't know if you follow these accounts or not. I do. Bleacher Report Hockey did a if the playoffs started today thing, and I almost puked. You should see her face. Can you show her
It's
face?
just...
I know. I'm with you.
Why do we even entertain this ridiculous...
Because I want to push your buttons. It's so damn easy. But the question is... Here's the matchups.
Oh, my God.
Tampa, Toronto in round 1 and Florida, Boston in round 1. I'm like, I'm sick of these playoff matchups. Aren't you?
I don't even think this is the first time I've thought about it in 6 months because it's stupid.
Well, if it were to happen, though, and I don't know if it will or not, I'm just saying, but I would like to see somebody new in here than the Bruins. I'm tired of the Bruins. I don't think they're going to be around in the end. And I'm not sure that Tampa is either. I think more than anything, why do you think this is coming up in the media now? Is that what you just said? They're inventing things to talk about? Or what?
I've said that for years. It's always that who in the media can get something new out there to get their name out there. Because everything has gone online now, everybody's got to be that person that gets their name or their face out there to the point where people are getting fired because they cross lines. People are like, it is... embarrassing to me what some of the stuff I see. Like it doesn't matter what country you live in, but it's bad in some places where the people don't even know what they're talking about and they go out there. Give me a break.
Well, listen, I get it, but I mean, I've been in this business 36 years. She's not nearly as old as me, but she's been in this business a while too, going back a ways. And I say don't blame the accounts, because when you walk into a sponsor, they say how many subscribers you got, how many views you got, how many likes you got. That's what it is.
Oh, it's 100% become that. And I think what kind of started, in my opinion, what started it more specifically in hockey, because that's all I really watch in regards to this, the trade deadline. Everybody's got to be the person that breaks the news. And what that did was it just filtered into all of these podcasts and online things and whatever. And now it's like this big fight on who can be the first one to report something. Who cares?
Yeah, we will blame TSN for everything. Okay. Ben, listen up.
Jesus.
The next point. Who will be the first coach fired in the NHL? It's not a hockey thing. They would prefer you don't talk about it, but you can find the odds at BetMGM. Here are your odds. First coach fired, Mike Sullivan, Pittsburgh. Number 2, Jim Montgomery, Boston. Number 3, Derek Lalonde, Detroit. I almost said Weyburn. And number 4, Andrew Brunette, Nashville. Who do you think will be the first coach fired in the NHL?
I don't know. That's another one. I just don't put my
But that's
going to
happen, though.
Who's going to get fired soon?
There's somebody's going to be.
Yeah, I would be shocked if Derek Lalonde got fired because I think Detroit still feels like they've got this good push going right now. I don't know. I don't know. Pittsburgh is going, we clearly side with our players. That's a fact. So maybe, but I would be shocked if they got rid of Derek Lalonde in Detroit.
Like I say, it's going to be somebody. There will be a firing. And last year, it was her team, the Oilers, firing Jay Woodcroft, their head coach. So, I'll say it again. I didn't prepare her that this was coming. And it's in my column in the South Florida Tribune today. Drops every Wednesday. BetMGM's odds. Because in the NFL, everybody and their dog has these odds for coach firings. It's a bigger thing. We discussed it on my talk show today. I want to ask you, why do you think in hockey it's like taboo? They don't like to talk about this kind of thing. Because it's not respectful to the coaches, do you think, or what?
I guess so. Hockey people are different.
Yeah.
Though. Hockey people are, and this is just a general blanket. Hockey people are hockey people. They're respectful. They're good human beings. They were raised where they didn't, it was just a completely different environment. You look at just the general overall belief system or however you want to look at the morals of hockey people versus football, basketball. Good Lord.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's maybe what it is.
There's a reason I don't know what it is, and overall I don't care because I got a show to do. So I will say in the bottom 5, I can't to bring up the overall standings in the NHL right now. They'll shift over the next week, but Nashville is in the bottom 5. And I don't think you would argue the biggest disappointment in the NHL this season is the Nashville Predators. I'm just prepping you here, and I don't know where you get your information. One day we should talk about that on this show because she and I get our info from different sources, and we kind of compare it together at the end of the day. But Barry Trotz on Tuesday, the general manager of the Predators, said, if we don't turn this around soon, I'm starting the rebuild right away. I don't know necessarily what that means, but I would be worried if I was Predators people.
But my thing is this. What did they expect? It's like I said last week. They overhauled. They added a whole bunch of guys. You're throwing a whole bunch of puzzle pieces in there. It doesn't mean they're all just going to fit right away. I don't know what anybody expected them to just come out flying.
Well, they made the playoffs last year as it was. They expect them to not be the shittiest team in the NHL.
Right, but that's what I'm saying is they added a whole bunch of superstars. It's very difficult to do that. It's not like you added a good guy that's going to plug in here. They're just like, let's get all the best players that are free agents and pay them a bunch of money and hope to hell it works.
Well, that's where they're at.
Correct. But they're going to be fine. Nashville they're going to be fine. I don't think they're going to be a Stanley Cup contender or anything. And as far as Barry Trotz, if that guy says something, no doubt he's speaking truth. I trust him. He's definitely one of the top 3 I would hire to be my general manager.
Well, our good friend Brent from Wellington, Florida, wrote into my other show the other day and said, Trotzy's not going to fire Andrew Burnett. They rattled off a big string to get into the playoffs last year. And I'm like, who knows? Barry's never been a GM before till now. And he's been fired as a coach. He knows what it's like. I don't think there's any guarantees in Nashville under Barry Trotz.
I don't think he's going to play around. You know what I mean? I think that Barry Trotz is just that kind of guy that I feel like he's one of those silent killers, so to speak. Barry Trotz isn't going to go running around flapping his mouth in the media at all. It's just going to happen. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen.
Right. And you wouldn't know ahead of time is what you're saying. Yeah. Point 5. This came up in the press box at American Bank Arena a few games ago. I was sitting beside a guy, you know him. And I said, where's Joel Quenneville going to end up? The former Panthers coach who was forced to step down in the fall of 2021 because of his role in the Chicago Blackhawks scandal. People forget they were 7-0 that season under Quenneville when he was forced to step down by the NHL. But this summer he was reinstated by the National Hockey League Commissioner Gary Bettman, and he's free to coach now wherever he wants. Problem is he didn't have a job. So that guy that I asked, where's Quenneville going to resurface? He looked at me and he goes, wherever the first coach firing is. Would Quenneville, the former Panthers coach, be number one on your list?
Oh, I would say probably yes. I don't think there's one thing wrong with Joel Quenneville as a coach. I feel like, and this is just my opinion, I feel like he got the raw end of the deal on that whole thing. Should not have been banned from. Give me a break, guys. We're going to put that to bed, though. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, let's be honest. Who else is out there? We were having this conversation, I think. Was it on the show last week or at home? We were talking about back in the day, there was guys, like there was some quality head coaches out there. You had the Pat Burns, the Pat Quinn, even Terry Crisp, like all those guys. Every team had a solid head coach and they were there for a while. Now you look at guys and it's like, who knows where this person's going to be? Who knows who's going to go here? Who knows? I can't even name every single coach on every single team right now. It would be tough. I don't even know. And it's just because they're always moving around. If someone said, who is this guy? Who does he coach for? I'd probably be able to tell you. But if you're like, name the whatever, I don't know. Let me think about it for a second. Back in the day, we could just go, this person was here, this person was here because they fit there. Now it's like, there's not a lot of good. It's just like finding a good defenseman these days. You got to find. Edmonton's looking for a guy to play with Darnell Nurse. It's hard to find. It's hard to find. Now you're guys that are going to be looking for coaches. There's not a lot that are on the market. So I agree with that statement 100%.
That he's number one. Mm-hmm. Well, there was a time that the three best coaches outside the NHL were regarded to be Mike Babcock, Dave Tippett, and Joel Quenneville. Babcock's never coaching again. Tippett, I don't think, wants to. And so it doesn't leave that many. Those are studs, though, right? All those guys are studs. But time goes on. And they're not young men anymore either. Not that you have to be young. But anyways, this is that's my thing on Quenneville. Interesting total hairpin off-ramp here. G-Tron writes in. I asked for a few topics today from the viewers. G-Tron says, Forsyth County redevelopment deal passed. When does Atlanta get the NHL again? The other night, press box conversation, guy said to me, done deal, Atlanta. And I said, there are no done deals until there's a news conference, until it's, I don't believe it. I won't believe in anything. But do you believe Atlanta is the next team if they go to 33? I'm praying that they are for my own reasons I'll get into. Where else would it be?
That's the thing. I don't know. That ding-dong that's running this league, it's going to be 33 teams, and then he's going to have to even it out in the friggin' West to make it 34. So frickin' Houston or some bloody place like that is going to end up with a team like, where does it stop? It didn't work in Atlanta 2 times, guys. 2 times. 2 times they had to move. Why would we do that again? It's like touching the burner and it's hot. Well, let me just be an idiot and touch the burner again. How is that a good decision?
So you're against Atlanta?
Well, it's going to... I'm against the last 15 teams they added in the friggin' league. It doesn't matter what I'm against.
Yeah. Well, my radio show airs in Atlanta. We're referred to as the Atlanta's NHL show, so I would love for a team to go to Atlanta. Let's just say it's got to happen, and you're the commissioner. And oh my God, that might be a great episode one day. Commissioner Sarina. God help us. But if you were to go and pick one, just where would you say? You got to pick. All the governors said, Sarina, you get to pick. Where would you go?
Well, I would have to do a lot of research. I don't even think about stuff like that because I don't think they should be expanding anymore at all. So I don't know. It would depend on whose hat was in the ring. Like, does Quebec City deserve another team?
Let's say, well, here's the odd thing about this. This is why I kind of got to put the blinders on my ears when I hear this stuff, because Salt Lake City came out of nowhere. Nobody was talking about Salt Lake City. When you say they're just going to do it, they're just going to do it. That's what they did.
But okay, so correct, absolutely. And so maybe they won't get a team in Atlanta because they're talking about it. Who knows? But if you look at the expansion teams over the last 30 years, 31 years, actually, let's call it that, 32, whatever. All those teams have a fan base now. Mm-hmm. Carolina, Florida, Tampa, Seattle, whatever. They all have a fan base. but it doesn't mean they're hockey region. Hockey itself doesn't really grow because there's an NHL team there. So you can't think that the reason he'd want to put one in Atlanta is to grow hockey. They don't care. They just want to pluck them. Has nothing to do. He knows that the teams will create a fan base because hockey's exciting. But what's it really, really, really doing to help the NHL by growing? Doesn't care. Doesn't matter.
His thing is the same as Goodell in the NFL, and that is putting money in the owners' pockets and driving up franchise values, period. End of story.
Right. That's my point. So he doesn't matter where a team goes. He doesn't care.
Where will make the most money? That's the way they look at it.
Well,
and I don't know. I don't really know the answer to that.
It's going to be, like I said, they're going to have a fan base if they're going to have a fan base, but that's it. That's all. It's a business.
Well, yeah. I don't think we solved anything, G-Tron.
Yeah.
Basically, you said, when's Atlanta get a team? And I strongly feel they're the next team in the queue. The word is in the press box, it's a done deal, but I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I just think they'll be the next team that gets one. It's a 3-hour drive from Nashville. It's an 8-hour drive from here. Regionally, it's a hell of a lot better, I think, than Quebec City and a lot of other places. But, Houston would make a great rivalry for Dallas, So they're going somewhere, and I believe Atlanta's the next one, but there's no date on that, okay? Moving on. I didn't mean to rile you up.
The hockey hotbed of Texas.
Stop it. There was at one time more pro teams in Texas than all of Canada. So.
And does anybody classify Texas as a hockey hotbed? No. So what's the difference?
But if you had your way, the NHL would be 6 teams and
no,
straight
not
blades.
Necessarily. Straight blades. What am I, 95?
Sometimes I wonder.
Straight. For those of you, if you're watching this and you don't know, there never used to be curves on sticks. They were straight blades. So that I haven't thought about that in decades.
Sorry. It's a difference in mindset. Again, my dad worked for the Dallas Stars for 26 years. So
he did?
I understand.
Hey, share that.
What about it?
Just more information about your dad. No, like I'm being serious.
That's not for me to say.
Okay.
Not yet.
Okay. I was being serious. I know he's
thought
like,
you were trolling me again.
No.
See what I deal with?
Yeah, it's terrible.
We have some news coming up with my dad, which is very exciting from the hockey world.
Who, unfortunately, is no longer with us, but
right.
spent 100 years in the NHL.
For some reason, he really likes Sarina. I don't know
why. He knows what's up. Yeah.
From Jersey Jim.
I thought you were trolling me.
And we will get in here. Well, usually you are.
Fair enough, because I was like, oh, and as soon as I said it, I was like, oh, shoot, can we?
A 2-word question. That's more of a statement from Jersey Jim. And I think I'll go for a walk because I'll just turn this over to Sarina. Goalie interference.
Oh, my God, Jim, what the hell is wrong with you? You really want to bring some? Oh, are you kidding me? Does Jim want me to fly off about this?
Yeah, I guess so. I'll throw mine in and just say I was a hockey official, ordained. So I get it. You're always going to be upset about officiating, so I don't have an opinion on it. And if you don't have both teams pissed off, you're not doing your job right. So people bitch about officiating. I don't like but you love it. So
hold on, though. I don't bitch about specific officiating. You never hear me say that was a terribly reffed game. There's a lot of bad calls, but it's because that's what they're supposed to call. The goaltender interference is absolutely ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. Let's think about the definition of the word interference. If you're actually interfering with the goaltender's ability to make the play, that's one thing. But the things that we have seen, goalies at the top of the crease getting touched by another guy, goaltender interference, no goal. Are you absolutely kidding me? Are you kidding me? Guys are getting hooking penalties. I think we saw a phantom call for the Panthers a couple of weeks ago that we talked about last week. Terrible call, and far be it from me to stick up for the Panthers, but I see it from both sides. I will call a bad call for whoever it is or a good call or whatever. But you just touch a guy, and then in front of the net, guys are getting cross-checked from behind 5 times. Kachuk will turn and punch somebody in the face and not get a penalty. Explain to me how any of that makes sense. Any of it. So it's not about the bad officiating itself. It's the league saying, call this, but not this. It's ridiculous. Thanks, Jim.
And she's right, and I'm not arguing. And just so you know, nobody argued with what you said about the narratives, the pushing the Panthers, the pushing the Lightning, pushing the California teams back in the day. Nobody argued that because you're right. So that's why I sit back and put my feet up and go, leave me out of this. And it's not Jim's fault. I asked, what topics do you want us to talk about?
That was a great topic.
And he said goalie interview. It's a great topic, but the point is they want some teams to win. We're not saying it's rigged. But listen, I'm going up. The reason I won't be here next week is I'm going to the Canadian Football League Championship, the Grey Cup, and I'm really excited to be there. Canada's Super Bowl. But I want to explain something to you for context. You knew me long time. I'm in the broadcast booth accusing the Canadian Football League of a conspiracy in a playoff game in Toronto. I'm like, they want Toronto to win the Grey Cup. And that's why the refs screwed us. Everybody, oh my God, I was pretty much canceled. I get out of the league a couple years later, and the guy pulls me aside and goes, yeah, you were right. How do you think that makes me feel? So my point is what you said was right. So to sit here and bitch and moan, why does Sam Bennett get to knock Brad Marchand out of the playoffs and not really face any discipline for it? Why do these things happen? Why? Because it's a waste of bloody time. You talk about, it's dumb to talk about playoff matchups now or whatever. It probably is. But to bitch about officiating is even less worthwhile, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, nothing's going to get done, right? But I'm just saying I've never blamed the actual refs themselves. Never. That is a hard job to do. Like I said, it's what the precedent that's been set by the National Hockey League. You can tell every time the playoffs start, it's chintzy calls every first round. Call everything. You can tell. They call everything. As it gets closer and closer, they start to let. Granted, last year in the Stanley Cup final, that was a good series as far as officiating and not a lot of dirty play. There was nothing that really needed to be called. Let's be honest. There was nothing that really warranted any type of, infractions or whatever. It just was what it was. A few penalties here and there, but they were justified. But you can see it at the start of the playoffs every year. Bing, bing, bing. Everybody's going to the sin bin. That's the way it goes.
Well, we learned Tim Peel has become a good friend of mine, a guy that was canceled by the National Hockey League. Also another guy for just saying the truth and got canceled. But he said the morning of the first game of the Stanley Cup playoffs or the night before, all the refs get on a Zoom call and Gary Bettman says, this is what you call. Boo, 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 boo. And that's not fixing. That's guiding in my mind.
Well, and again, far be it from me to stick up for Gary Bettman. But the problem that he faces is you got some refs calling this. Let's say you have two teams like, okay, Boston's playing in Florida. There's going to be a lot of penalties in that series. And you have maybe Vancouver playing whoever. They're won't have as many penalties. He just wants to keep everybody on the same page because some refs are going to call more and some are going to call less. It's the way it's always been. Think about when we were kids, we knew the refs that were going to call certain things and the ones that weren't. It was just their personality. Every ref had a personality, whereas now they don't. Everybody be on the same page.
The NHL doesn't want them.
That's what
the
I'm
leagues
saying.
Don't want them to have a personality. But as a guy that refereed, if I called 4 penalties against one team and none against the other for the first half of the game, I will guarantee you the second half of the game, I'm looking for something for that other team to even them up. Because guess what? At the end of the game, the coaches are going to be bitching, going, how come they got 4 power plays and we didn't get any? I would say because you deserved it. But I guess you're not allowed to say that. So anyways, Jim, way to go. Is this what you wanted? Starting this? I put up just very early Wednesday morning for some topics, so we only got a couple. I asked Sarina, as we're going to wind this up here in the next little bit, what you would like to talk about. You said one thing, the Colorado Avalanche.
I feel like every time you ask me, what's the one thing you want to talk about? There's always that one thing. I don't even have to think about it. Colorado. I said it last year. I'm going to say it this year. Colorado is a force to be reckoned with. Cale Makar, 13-point streak coming out of the start of the season. He's a defenseman, you guys. He's a defenseman. Nate McKinnon put up 5 assists last night. This is not a 2 trick pony. Is that the right word? This is not a 2-player team over there in Colorado. They are a great hockey team. And know what? Nobody watches them. It's just like when I was living in California, nobody watched the Los Angeles Kings, and all of a sudden they came out of nowhere and won the Stanley Cup. No one watches Colorado. The games start at so late. I understand completely. But don't underestimate Colorado. I felt like they could have gone a little further last year. Dallas as well. Edmonton just happened to get the better of Dallas. It just was what it was last year. But Colorado, Nate McKinnon and Cale Makar are only getting better. Nathan McKinnon is a friggin' freight train out there. If you've never watched a game and just focused on Nate McKinnon, do yourself a favor. Better yet, if you get to see him live, watch him around the ice. He's like Ovi kind of used to be. He's always moving his feet, always looking at the next guy that he can plug through the boards. And then he's on the puck. He's incredible. And Cale Makar is just, I mean, he still seems like an infant to us because he's so young. He's unbelievable.
Interestingly enough, Nathan McKinnon was the MVP of the NHL last year. I think if you ask most people, they wouldn't even know that.
He's unbelievable. He's unbelievable. But it kind of goes to along the lines of the amount of people here when Edmonton was in the final. Wow, Connor McDavid's really that good. No shit. He's been in the league for 10 years. Not my fault you didn't see it.
They also never see him because they play at 10 at night.
Totally. But that's what I'm saying.
Well, it's funny what she says about Colorado with nobody watching them. No, living most of my life in Canada, and once I got out of the bubble I was living in, and I got talking to some people from Denver, they said that the Avalanche were a distant 4 in the market in Denver. What? The Broncos, the Nuggets, the Rockies, and then the Avs. I'm like, they've won 3 Stanley Cups. Like, there's more jerseys in Canada. You've been there for Colorado Avalanche than probably Colorado.
Well, yeah, there are a lot of Avalanche. There was a lot of Patrick Waugh fans in this world.
And
there was
Joe
a lot
Sakic.
Of right. There's a lot of those fans that became Avalanche fans when those players went there. But Colorado is just, they're good. They're scary. And so is Vegas.
Yeah. I'm just saying it blew my mind because Vegas is the number 1 team, and the Golden Knights are the number 1 team in Vegas. The Raiders are behind them for their own reasons. That's not a topic that I wanted to bring up. You're going to say something?
But living in Saskatchewan, we were obviously in the same time zone. I watched a lot of Avalanche game when I lived in Canada. And obviously in California, I watched a lot too. I always like watching Colorado. They've always had a player I wanted to watch. Yeah. Obviously, Joe Sakic's one of the best to ever play the game. Watching Milan Hajduk, he's extremely, extremely talented. The Peter Forsbergs, and it's just been going on. There's been a superstar or 2 on that team every year since the inception.
Wow. And the one thing that I will wind it up on this, because Ben's getting tired, I can see he's stretching his back. Just here. What up? Oh, I thought you were tapping my leg.
Probably wishes I was like groping
Why would I think that? Yeah. Just here. We're here wanting to talk hockey. I mean, I respect all the media here, but I see kids, young people, come out of school and get assigned to the Panthers with their first job, and they aspire to cover the Dolphins, and they aspire to cover the Miami Hurricanes, which is totally good. I get it. I'm doing exactly what I want, as are you, and that is talking about the NHL here in Florida. And the gang of people, to have the Panthers DMing me and talking about the Tampa Air games, and are you coming to Finland? And Freddie, your biggest fan, Freddie Montero, sent me a photo from the rink in Finland to use with my column in the South Florida Tribune. I can't be more grateful for the way this show's been welcomed by the people. They even say they love you.
I know, and I can be a total asshole sometimes. Yeah. And I was watching clips, and I'm like, how does anybody take me seriously, number 1? And number 2, I got those stupid pink ears on. I was like, am I joking right now?
I didn't get to the Twitter comments to you, and I won't. It was, Sarina, we love you, but you sound so salty. I'm like, she is. Just don't say she sounds salty.
Hold on, though. We did have this conversation, so now that you're going to bring it up.
What?
Now that you're going to bring it up, me being salty. Everyone thinks I'm salty because I made a comment saying that the Panthers are cheap and dirty, not rough. Oh, you're just salty. Bitch, I've been saying that for 3 years. Don't at me because I said the Panthers are X, Y, or Z. I have never changed my tune in the last 3 years. And if you don't know that, you need to watch our show more. So there.
It's turned out to be great. I don't know how. I think it's because of the producer. Thank you, Ben.
Anytime.
All right. Put yourself on the screen there if you don't mind. I think it's can't afford a haircut or what? You don't have time.
Yeah.
Am I right?
You're right.
Any hairstylists out there that love Cuban men?
I feel like he could get a little, we could give him a little fade while he's producing the
on
show.
the air?
That'd be cool.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
All right, Ben. They love you.
All right.
And they love Sarina. They don't care about me, but I'm used to it. See you next week on Cuts and Bolts.